Hello, all, and welcome to a very special beer review. It is the 1st of February 2024. I've already started uploading one of my dry January non-alcoholic beer reviews. There are several more to follow. You know me. I'm always backlogged. That's just the way I live my life. C'est la vie. But yes, this is a very special review because, this is the first time I'm going whole hog back into, I guess not whole hog, but usually I ease my way back into drinking. But tonight we are having a special review because this is a gift bottle. Now, back in the beginning of January, my father gave this to me and said that one of his friends at work, Spencer Chun, or Chan, name is Spencer, I remember that part, gave this for me to review on my channel. And I told him I would do it as soon as dry January was over, and well, it is now February, and hence I will be reviewing this. Now, this is, of course, a bourbon barrel aged stout with the addition of chocolate and coffee. Let's go and read this here. So, this was actually packaged on 07/07/20. So this particular bottle is already 4 years old. So this has been aging quite nicely for some time. So, which is what you're supposed to be doing with these barrel aged stouts. You know, you have one fresh for the year, and then you put one or more aside, and you kind of see how they grow and develop over time. So let's go and read the label now. It's got very small print, and it's kind of a little bit blurry, and I'm getting old. Highly acclaimed KBS, a flavored stout, is good for everything a flavored stout ought to be good for. Ale brewed with chocolate and coffee, aged in oak bourbon barrels. This beer taught us that patience truly is a virtue. KBS is a big imperial stout brewed with a massive amount of coffee and chocolate and then bourbon barrel aged to perfection. Incredibly silky and full-bodied with notes of vanilla, cocoa, roasted coffee, and charred oak. So today's really the perfect day to be having it. It's been rainy and it's going to become quite windy. I was thinking of maybe doing this tomorrow, but then I didn't want to go and risk like the power cutting out because our power cuts out a lot now in Hawaii. It's becoming quite unnerving in certain respects. You know, while I'm reviewing it, so I want to do it while the power is stable. This is 12.0 ABV. We're going to be doing it in the snifter glass. And I learned from the last time pouring in the snifter glass, I'm only going to pour half the bottle into the snifter. So it can really develop a nice aroma. And I've had this sitting outside the refrigerator for about half an hour now. So it should be around the right temperature. You know, you want this between about 55 and 65 degrees. It is 69 degrees out, so yeah, let's get to this, shall we? Again, thank you to Spencer. Oh my. Just like moving the barrel from here to here, I smelled big vanilla. Giving it a fairly vigorous pour because I want that head to build up a bit. Like I said, got half the bottle here. And we're not going to do the full pour because I want the aromas to collect in the snifter. Holding it up to the light here, you can't see. Well, maybe when you tilt it at an angle, because thankfully these snifters can be tilted at an angle, you get an almost amber ruby color passing through the most shallow edge of it. Again, not much head here. Oh, there's just really massive, massive aromas here. And they're all just kind of popping out and interplaying with each other. So I think the biggest one is probably the wood char, followed by coffee. And coffee and wood char kind of had the edge between them is kind of blurry because that char and that roast sort of blend over in a spectrum. The cocoa kind of emerges in and out, but much more subdued. And the vanilla is there. And vanilla was a blast when I went and opened it and poured it out originally. But it seems to kind of die down a little bit here. And well, each of these kind of have their own particular, scent profile there, aroma profile. There's also like where they blend over is really the strongest points, and it kind of reminds me almost of like really expensive fermented soy sauce. Not like the mass-produced kind that most people have, but like the actual expensive kind that's comes in like the $20 bottles, and that's mostly used for cooking. So a really large umami note there. Even more than the char, you almost get a hint of the wood underneath the char as well. Okay, on to the palate now. Very thick, very chewy on the palate. Oddly enough, more delicately flavored than I was expecting for something that had such a massive bouquet. And I'm guessing that's probably an artifact of the aging here. The post bottling aging tends to go and smooth off those rough edges. An almost herbaceous carob-like note in the top note interplays with coffee. Long finish of thick coffee, almost mocha notes. Almost coats the tongue, really. You definitely get the coffee there, but you also get the roasted malt notes in the mids that emerge quite strongly there. You have to be very careful with this because after a month of abstention, this is going to wallop me like a Mack truck. I've had 2 sips and I'm already feeling it. Vanilla is most apparent in the top note as that sort of, the floral aspect of vanilla, but there is a kind of creaminess and roundness on the palate as well. Despite the very little head generated on the pour, there is still perceptible carbonation after 4 years of aging throughout. Throughout, not just in the front, but throughout until the finish, after it clears the palate. What I would really like to note here, and it just struck me, is the relative lack of booziness to this. In the mid to finish, it kind of pokes his head there, a very slight alcohol heat. But I've had beers that, are about 4 to 5 percentage points lesser in ABV that have more booziness. There's no booziness in the head. There's just a kind of booziness and heat on the palate just for a brief moment in the mid to finish. I have to say the bouquet, the aroma note, is just absolutely lovely. If you drink this, drink it in a snifter. It really does these things a favor. I don't think there's any other better glassware for a barrel aged stout than a snifter. Somewhat of a mild histamine reaction for me, but not as bad as I was expecting, actually. And that's just a personal thing. Happens a lot with a lot of beers I drink now. I don't think it's the warming up of it, but more the um, what's the word I'm looking for? More as you drink more of it, the more the cacao stands out, the more the cocoa stands out on the palate in the mid to finish as well, and appears in the top note. Mm. Yeah. So there's a lot of interplay of the flavors here, but while I said that they, some of them kind of spectrum into each other, like how the wood char spectrums into the coffee. I like to note that it's not mushy. You don't have trouble picking out those flavors. I'm just saying that they kind of overlap on each other. Yeah. quite nice, I must say. Okay. Why don't I do a close? Since this wants to be blurry now, why don't I do a close up of a pour? That ought to be interesting, right? Okay, built up a little bit more head than the first time. No residue on the bottom. Yeah. Refreshing the pour kind of brought the char and the vanilla back out a bit more. Head coloration is one of the darkest I've ever seen. It's almost like in a burnt umber color. As it warms up a bit more, the booziness is becoming a bit more apparent, but not overwhelmingly so. I think I might have let this one be a little bit too warm. You know, I should have maybe poured it out maybe 5 minutes earlier or so. But, you know, these things happen. Ideally, it would be to go and have it at exact room temperature, you know, if it was like 60 degrees out and I just drink it then. Rather glad, too, I went and ate dinner before this as well. I thought about doing this before dinner because usually before dinner my sense of smell is stronger if I haven't eaten for a while rather than if I've eaten after I've eaten. I decided it would be far more sensible to have something food in my belly while reviewing this than otherwise. Otherwise, I'd start getting loopy long before the review was done. Raisin-like notes emerging in the front to mids. You know, um, raisin, dry fruit notes. Again, these are all ancillary to the four main ones of, you know, oak char, coffee roast, chocolate, and vanilla. And of course, that massive overlap there, it kind of tastes like a really fine soy sauce, you know? Absolutely lovely. Absolutely lovely and enjoyable. Now, I've seen these at Whole Foods on and off. Like all barrel aged bottles, they are somewhat expensive. And moreover, ones that have a good amount of aging time to them post bottling are even more expensive on like bottle trading sites. Excuse me. So I again want to thank Spencer for donating this to the channel for review. It is donations which are basically keeping the channel running at this point. No, no, no. I joke. I joke. I'm still going to be buying things to review. Like I said in one of my previous videos, it's going to be maybe about um, in between 2 to 4 reviews a month now. So basically, I'm just going to be buying a single bottle of beer a week and reviewing it more or less as resources sort of dictate. But yeah. KBS, Kentucky Bourbon Stout, from Founders Brewing Company. Oh, wait, I forgot. I didn't even see this. The amazing Cosmicki's highly acclaimed KBS, a flavored stout. So now the histamines are starting to kick in a little bit more, so I'm going to have to start to wrap it up here. Absolutely lovely. I'd have to say that this is, in summation, I'd have to go and say that this is one of the smoothest barrel-aged stouts that I've ever had. Absolutely zero rough edges to this compared to any of the others that I've had. You know, it's got all that oomph. It's got all those big aromas and flavors, but none of the heat, none of the sharpness that can that can accompany some of those flavor notes. Um, yeah, and but I believe like most of that smoothness is kind of coming from the fact that it's been allowed to mature a bit, as it were. So again, thanks to Spencer for donating this. Thanks to my dad for passing it on. And I'm going to try to have this one up and uploaded in about a week or two, thereabouts. And like I said, you know, I'm going to be trying to upload at least, not upload, but at least create one video a week. Um, Basically, it's going to be a single beer, and I review that single beer, and just that's going to be the only beer I drink that week. And yeah, that, folks, is your beer review for this evening. Cheers.